Okay, guys, this is chapter 2, a continuation from the previous chapter. Again, this slide is prepared by my professor, Joanna Nerves, and this chapter basically talks about data ethics. Okay, before we talked about law, ethics in general, and morals, and this one talks about data ethics in protection law and privacy literacy. Okay, it's important to know that there are mechanisms in place to ensure that data is fairly processed and used and protected, and those who process these data are held accountable if they do not follow the proper procedures as well. In a world that is very data driven nowadays, everything is data and data is everywhere. Okay, so data ethics basically refers to you know, applying ethical considerations when gathering data, using data. Okay, so data ethics encapsulates or encompasses the moral obligations of gathering, protecting, and using, especially personally identifiable information, and how it affects individuals. Okay, it's a big concern to analysis for data science and anyone that deals with information. Okay, anyone that handles data, raw, transform data. Okay, so data ethics basically is a set of principles and guidelines for organizations, individuals, anyone that processes data to ensure they respect the human rights and promotion of justice and avoidance of any harm. Okay, now why is it important? I've just mentioned this before. Here are some examples of why, when data is misused or doesn't follow ethical standards, it could cause harm. Okay, an example is the Cambridge Analytica, whereby data was obtained from millions of users of Facebook without their consent, and this data was used to create a detailed voter profile, and then they were targeted with political advertisements, and this actually had an effect on the 2012 US presidential elections. Okay, this is a brief. So the ethical concern here, you could say, is a scandal. The seriousness of the scandal is that it was about privacy. Okay, so and consent, and then manipulation of voter behavior, because the Facebook users were innocent. They didn't know they could be targeted in this manner. Okay, and I think after that, Facebook also because Facebook sold the data, I think, to Cambridge Analytica. Okay, in this case. All right, and the second example would be in 2012, Target. Um, I think this happened in Portugal here, whereby these big companies, retail companies, supermarkets, they have gift cards and loyalty cards. They collect all of these informations and they're able to track your purchasing pattern. Okay, and I think in this case they were able to track this customer's purchasing pattern, and then realize that based on what they are purchasing, they might be pregnant. Even though this particular person, teenager, was trying to hide the pregnancy from these people, and when they came with a gift to surprise her, it was the father that got it. So that, you could say, was a lack of considerations, but among many things, yeah, this can happen when data is not it doesn't follow proper data ethics guidelines. And the other thing is the Ashley Madison website, dating website. So based on my understanding, this website was basically for people who are married and they're looking for an affair. Okay, and I understand that the website was completely unsecured. It didn't have all the security measures, and also people were paying. You could pay to have your personal data deleted, but they were collecting money and they were not deleting the information. And yeah, so I heard when the hackers, I understood when the hackers got access to the data, they even warned the guys, Ashley Madison, that you have to stop what you're doing, or we are going to release the data. And I think they didn't care, and they just that's how the everything came about. And there's a Netflix movie about this as well. Okay, so we have. I also understand that in Portugal here during the COVID times, I think the government developed this app. And trying to track people, because with the COVID, everyone tried to avoid contact with everyone else, so that the virus doesn't spread. So, although according to the lecturer, this app actually had all the privacy considerations and all the GDPR, which is the regulation for the EU, all the GDPR guidelines in place, but the app did not gain success, and many people did not download the app. So there was one example. So it says transparent data practices was applied, informed consent was there, which is very useful well, very important in data ethics as well. Okay, next we will talk about the data ethics and the key principles of data ethics. Okay, all right, we can continue. So when it comes to data ethics, we are the key principles that we need to always pay attention to, which is ownership. Okay, this is the person that has ownership over the personal information. I mean, this refers to the fact that the individual has ownership to their personal information. Okay, and they need to be involved in understanding who gets the data and what they are using it for. Okay, and this has a relation with consent, informed consent, and transparency. Okay, individuals have the right to know how these organizations plan to collect, store, and use, which is the terms and conditions. Okay, we all accept the terms and conditions, but most of us cannot or don't have the time to read it. Okay, and privacy also. The organizations. Data controllers, they need to ensure that the privacy of the individuals are respected. Okay, and also, data ethics implies that data controllers have to avoid anything that will cause harm. Okay, they ensure that data practices do not cause harm to individuals or communities. Okay, okay, okay. All right. Then from the next slide, we will continue.